Good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 9 of My Cars Shop. So, give you a little history for those of you who don't know me on this whole thing about My Cars Shop. So, first of all, my name is Mike. My last name begins with R, so it's Mike R's Shop. You didn't make that connection. And so the name for what I'm doing here came from when my wife and I first got married. I was working in a hot rod shop up in northern Michigan, and wasn't really making enough money, I felt, at that point, and was basically running the place. And I thought, well, if I'm running the place myself anyway, I might as well just have my own shop. So we had actually made a deal on a building, and we're going to move in there and open a shop that we were going to do, auto repair and hot rods. And my wife suggested we call it My Cars Shop. Make My Cars Shop your cars shop. Mike R. My Car Shop was going to be the slogan. So that name's been rattling around in the back of my head. And as we move forward in that venture, we changed the idea, and we were going to call it Crosswalk Auto because it was right on a corner where there was a crosswalk and other reasons. But anyway, we ended up pulling the plug on that deal, and I ended up working in a Chrysler dealership in that town, first as a mechanic, and then went in to manage their reconditioning shop before we moved back down to Lower Michigan, and I took over as a mechanic in a dealership in this area, and then became service manager there. So that's the history of My Cars Shop, in case you're interested. So what about today's episode? What are we doing? So you can just see over here, the corner edge of the rear bumper, and the taillights are there also. And the project today is to get them on the car over there. I've got things turned around here. Let's let you see that. Okay, so I've got the car backed in. It's about 30 degrees out today, and windy as all get out. It's a good thing I painted yesterday. But anyway, I got this set up now. I'll move this fender out of the way so you can see a little better and get this camera better positioned. But we're going to be, first of all, I'm going to be mounting the tail lights with the brand new lenses and chrome rings, and of course I have the inserts and everything that goes in that, the gaskets, and then I'm going to be mounting the rear bumper onto the car. So the back of this car will be complete as of today. Rock on! Enjoy this episode. Okay, so the taillight housing is mounted, so that's a good thing. Somehow, I have no idea how, I checked it, made sure it was right. I put the taillight assembly in the housing backwards. I got to take it back off because there's screws that go in from that way. You can't just pull it out, turn it over, and put it in, unfortunately. I should have riveted it on there, I guess, but I didn't want to bother digging my rivet gun out. And anyway, it is what it is. So I need to pull this back out again, flip that over, and then I can put the taillight lens on. Okay, so there we are. We've got the passenger side tail light put on, and the bumperette is on. So all I got left to do is the driver's side. That needs a little bit more work because I hadn't prepped it. The wires need to be redone to the light bulb, and a couple of screws need to be put in and so forth. So I got to work on that next, but wanted you to see things, well, you've been seeing it all along, but I just wanted to take a minute and talk a little bit about the mounting of that bumper. I just did a video for you that shows the line. So when I built that, it was before the car was painted, and I built it and formed it to fit exactly the contour of the back of that car. Of course, I had to take the whole car back apart again after I did that, and things have shifted a little bit, and it's not lining up 100% perfect, but it looks great. The contours follow. There's just minor variations in the line. I was thinking about it last night, trying to remember if I was planning to put that fender welt on that thing or not, and originally it had it, but I think the way I remember doing it was I contoured it to fit that body exactly. So the way you do that, can't show you how I did it because I did that 10 years ago or more, but if you bolt the car together, get everything in place, and then I bolted up my rough fabricated part. Well, I put a piece of tape across. I taped the whole back of the car down where that goes, first of all. And then I put, bolted that rear bumperette on there. And then I took tiger hair and I spread it in there so it followed that contour exactly to fill in any variances. The metal was pretty close. It wasn't that bad. But I used fiberglass and made it follow that contour exactly. And then you take an extremely sharp knife and you cut that to follow that body line, and then because the tape was on there, you're able to pop it back off of there. So I didn't have to touch that, I didn't have to sand it, that edge was formed perfectly. All I had to do was sand that contour on the top to make it round and match, finish it off, of course, put it back on the car again, make sure everything lined up the way I wanted it, and there you go. So that's how it was done. That's a very common way of following contours when you're customizing a panel. That's the way I do it. So it's really hard when you got so many pieces that bolt together to get everything to fit exactly right. But I'm really pleased with the way it turned out. The bolt heads down below are still zinc. I need to paint those red so they're hidden. Do that later. There's, I think, 5 bolts across the middle that help pull that together. One thing I had to do was loosen the fender on this side, which is why it was under there so long, because when I bolted that back together, that fender, the bottom of that fender was in just a little bit too much. Oh, no, it was in just a bit too much, yes. So I loosened the bottom of that fender up so that everything would kind of sandwich together nicely, being extremely careful when I'm bolting that together because I don't want anything to crack. There's a little bit of mud in that fender, there's a little bit of mud in that cowl, and there's a little bit of mud in that bumperette. Not a lot overall, but when you're starting to bend stuff around like that, you got to be really, really careful you don't crack anything. So everything turned out great. Best case scenario, couldn't be happier with the way it all turned out. So good to go. It's kind of, when I did the close video, it probably looks like the color doesn't match perfectly, and part of that is because the car needs to be polished and wheeled one more time. Once that thing pops, gets back to its shininess, that's going to match perfect. I'm really, really happy with the way that turned out. Okay, so just a picture of what has to happen here. So there is the light assembly here that goes inside of this bucket down in here like this, and a little screw I put on both sides to hold that together. It might have originally been riveted, I don't remember. It looks like it maybe was, but I screwed it in there. So I don't have a pop rivet gun anymore. I don't know what happened to it. Probably got left at my dad's or something. Oh, we got another scenario here. That's not good. I gotta fix that. Tell you that in a minute. So anyway, this goes in here. Sorry, you're not. This goes in here like this. And all that bolts onto the car. What I just noticed, I got to do some welding on this, and while I'm at it, I might just pop weld those. We'll see. I may just pop weld that tail light in there while I'm at it. I've got to do a little fabricating here because there's a little tab that's supposed to be down here for the screw here in the chrome ring. This thing goes over this edge like this. There's all kinds of things wrong with this, I'm noticing. Goes over that like that to hold that in there, and then the screw goes in there to hold this all together like this, and that tab is missing. So I've got to weld a little tab on here with a hole in it to screw that together. The other thing I'm noticing is these tabs probably need to be bent up a little bit. They're not quite bent up enough to hold things together the way I would like to see. So these other tabs also need to be bent up a little bit. So we gotta take care of all that. The other side was good. I had redone the other side probably 9 years ago when we were at the other shop before I moved here, and life took over the last 8 years or so. So anyway, got to get this fabricated up. Let's just throw it on the floor. I've got to solder new wires on the end of this here, put some heat shrink on there so that I got some pigtails, so when I put the wire harness in I can get that wired up. The bulb is silver right now. I don't care about that. I'll get that cleaned up later. I'll put new bulbs in it. I'm probably going to put LEDs in it, but we'll deal with that later. So anyway, I got a little fabricating work to do and some soldering to do before I can put the other tail light on, which is why I put the bumperette on instead of putting this tail light on first. Okay, my apologies. I forgot to turn the camera on, but I did get this welded up now. It turned out really nice. So all I gotta do is drill a hole in it, and then that'll hold the tail light on. I want to be darn sure that's good and solid. I'm tempted to put a little bead on the inside. I don't want to lose my tail light, but it's pretty good. I don't think it's going anywhere, so I think we'll be all right. I hate to put a bead on the inside of it there, and I don't know. I guess it's not going to hurt anything, but yeah, I think I'm going to have to. It's cracked a little bit right. Yep, I just noticed a crack in it. So I got to go back to the welder here and touch it up one more time. All right, well, that's going to wrap up today's episode. Thanks for watching. We got the tail lights installed, got the bumperette installed. So from here back, other than wiring and the interior of the trunk, this car is complete. Unfortunately, it's freezing out today. The wind is strong, and I won't take it out. I could, but I won't. So the next step, while I got the car backed in here, like this, is I'm going to work on getting this quarter glass done. So that will be tomorrow's project. It's supposed to continue to get warm as the week goes on, so hopefully it does. I hope you enjoyed this episode of My Cars Shop. A little bit of history on My Cars Shop, and
more work on the 47 Ford. So also, if there's things you want to see, make sure you leave a comment, say something, ask questions, things like that. Also spread the word around, get people to subscribe. That would be great. I appreciate you watching. Stay safe.